The First Lady, Janet Museveni, talked about transition. He talked about transferring power from their family to someone. Is that something the family knows? We don't know. Because this is the first time the First Lady, Janet Museveni, is talking publicly about the transition of a country. We all know that Janet Museveni is 80 years. In fact, this September is going to make 81 years. Okay? In 2021, it's going to be 82 years. By the standards of our people, 82 years is so much. So even the family is realizing that whether or not they don't put in their effort in the transition is going to happen. Is the reason as to why their first son, Moses Karugaba, is so vocal about those who want to succeed his father. Even his son-in-law, Ruabog, wants to take over from him. And this is the time Ugandans should put their effort in the gymnastics of power so that we can get a successful transition. So in this episode, I've come to talk about the transition process which was insinuated by Janet Museveni, because he came out in a tweet and said, I quote, to the 23 elders and 16 deacons who were commissioned, leadership is not for the faint-hearted. I speak from experience. Yet with God by our side, I urge you to help lead our nation to a successful transition. Yes, that's a tweet which was put out by Janet Museveni, begging the religious men to help them lead the nation to a successful transition. You know, I normally tell people that transition is like a pregnancy. Even if you don't want it, the moment it is in, it will go going forward. And it has an expiry date where a baby must be born. Uganda is a juncture where transition is going to be born, whether we like it or not, whether the first family likes it or not. Okay? So it will take on serious Ugandans so that we can birth this new baby in a good way. Because since our independence, we've never gotten a successful transition without fights. So in this episode, I've come to talk about the tweet which was put out by Janet Museveni, what she means for our politics, and most importantly, the certain materials we can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know that if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagari. There's a lot of content of this nature. If your politics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. One, in every country, most especially countries which have had presidents who have ruled for a long period of time, when that president gets old, the family sees that there is an inevitable transition that is going to happen. So the family wants to engage the transition so that one of their own can take over from their father. It has never happened. When Mugabe got too old, it reached a time when his wife wanted to be Grace Mugabe. In fact, Grace Mugabe took it upon himself to become the lead of the Women League in the political party, ZANU. Is it ZANU PF, if I'm not mistaken? Okay, so that he can control the political party to birth the transition. And on the other hand, in Zimbabwe, there was Chiwenga, the CDF, who was with Mugabe in the bush. They also blocked the family from taking over. So normally in a transition, the family wants to take over from their dad so that they can retain the legacy, the loot, the achievements, etc. And also on the other hand, even the revolutionaries want to take part. So here in Uganda, what Museveni first solved, very many war bush generals were put out of the army, almost 99%, so that they cannot influence the transition when it comes. That's why even people, any person who have ever went to the bush is put in public service. And when you're in a public service, you have less influence because the armies have tools of coercion. Two, when you look around Museveni's cabinet, is surrounded by women. All people who would want their family to retain power, they surround themselves with women because in the nature of the woman, they are not ambitious. That's why in the history of the country, I've not had a coup which has ever been led by a woman. No woman has ever thrown the president. Yet your fellow men can work against you to overthrow you. Look at Museveni, the vice president, Jessica Alupo. Even if Jessica Alupo wants to be president, I don't think that he can go an extra mile to capture it. Okay? Look at the prime minister. Who's the prime minister? Okay, Robin Anabanja. Robin Anabanja knows zero things about the Juminexo's power. The deputy prime minister, the second, Rebecca Kadaga. The third, Moses Sall, is also 90-something years. He doesn't understand what's happening in the country. Okay? The cabinet, when you look at the cabinet, they are all women. So, naturally, women are like mothers. When they look at General Kaguta Museveni, they look at him as an old person, not a person who holds power. They want to keep him. They want to nurture him. Yet, on the contrary, if he was surrounded by men in history have overthrown even their friends. For example, in Burkina Faso, okay, Thomas Sankara was overthrown by Blaise Compaoré. They were friends. In fact, if Thomas Sankara had a woman as his friend, I don't think that could happen. Okay, so this is what normally happens. Even in the advanced stage of Gaddafi, he wanted his son Salif Islam to take over. So even as families, I think they sit down and look at their father is 82 years, because General Museveni is not getting stronger but weaker. He's not getting wiser. Okay, because of old age. So they sit down and go like, maybe at a certain point P is going to leave power, either through natural causes or through incapabilities. Because I know, even if General Museveni is given more 30 years, let me assume, or 40 years or 50 years, it will reach a time when he was incapacitated. Remember, Mugabe was 95 years, I'm not mistaken, but he was falling down, he was peeing in pants, he didn't understand policies in the government, he was being driven. So that point can reach. So the family wants to birth in a transition while excluding Ugandans. That's why I came out to do a video saying that if General Museveni came out to apologize, it has a deep meaning. It is the truth. So what pains me more is that even the family, amidst all this, the family wants to do a succession, not a transition. You know, they are speaking about the transition. What I expected about General Kaguta Museveni is to come out, make a press conference, announce to Ugandans that I'm not going to stand in 2026, but I'm going to birth a free and fair election. Maybe make quick constitutional changes so that we can get a new government. This is what happened in Kenya. Moi had ruled Kenya for 21 years. One day he came out to say, I'm going to organize an election where I'm not going to be a contender. Although he had a candidate, which was also a mistake, but he birthed in a new government of Kibaki. In fact, after Moi, Kenya started testing the real democracy. Ever since Moi went, democracy has grown up in Kenya. They are not where they are supposed to be, but at least they have moved away from the extra bad politics. But in Uganda, we still have it. We still have a military rule. And I keep on telling people that that I may not want a coup, but since we are a military government, there are higher chances of a coup happening. It is the truth. I don't know how it will happen, but it will happen. It's like me telling you that one day you will die. I don't know how me and you will die, but eventually you will die. So military governments like ours face coups whenever the leader either gets old or leaves power, because we've not built the systems of transition. Of course, that's my opinion. Do make comments by commenting about this. Thank you very much for listening in. If this is your first time on this YouTube channel, I implore you to subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.
Nange benjagala obulungi.